So in the spirit of curiosity, but also about shaping your future, we couldn't have a better first speaker. Monique Ruff-Bell, who's going to be joining us, is from TED, which it's a brand that we all know and love, and probably many of us want to aspire to be TED speakers at some point in our life. But what Monique's going to do is she's going to share with us her own personal experience, how she has purposely and intentionally designed her career so you can take steps away from it. And from when I talked to her, one of the things that really struck me is she isn't somebody who's stood by and waited for her future to happen, but she's really been curious. She's surrounded herself with people by inviting herself into rooms, creating great partnerships, and I'm going to call sponsorships of individuals to help her move forward. Please welcome to the stage, Monique Ruff-Bell. Welcome, Monique.
Listen to me now.
Hello, hello, hello. I'm super excited to be here, and I need to feel the energy. So good morning, everyone. There we go. There we go. So even though I'm with TED and head of events for TED, I will not be giving a TED Talk, so I just want to manage expectations here. But I will be telling you a great story, what I consider a great story, about how to be more intentional with your career and what I did to help elevate and inspire others to kind of move up in their career within my network. So before I begin, I need to kind of get this energetic thread going through the audience. So we're going to do something called the 2-clap exercise. And when I ask a question, I'm going to say, and can you please give me 2 claps? And if you agree, if you are saying yes to whatever I'm about to say, or if you are inspired and motivated by that question, I'm going to need you to give me 2 claps like this. All right, so we're going to practice. Can you please give me 2 claps? There we go. And so I have a couple of questions for you. My first question is, have you ever had the perception that only hard work will elevate you within your career? Give me 2 claps if you agree. All right. Have you ever had the perception or idea that unless I can be perfect at this, unless I can be perfect at this skill, this opportunity, this project, I am not going to put myself forward for that? Give me 2 claps if you've ever had that experience. All right. And last question, give me 2 claps if you have been petrified of taking risk within your career because you thought, I have to follow this very linear path. I have to do it this very particular way. There is no deviation. So have you ever had the experience that you were afraid of taking a risk with your career? Give me 2 claps. We've all been there. That exercise was to show you you are not alone in thinking that way. And so I want to kind of share my story to give you an understanding of why I felt being intentional was a game changer for me when it came to my career. And so if you start from the very beginning, and I promise I won't start from birth, but if you start from the very beginning, the first thing was how I grew up. I didn't grow up in an environment where I saw a lot of people with careers. They had jobs. They went to work every day. I grew up in a single-parent home. My mother worked 2 jobs for 30 years. She worked morning and night. And so I understood what hard work looked like. But I didn't understand how to navigate an environment like a corporate America. And so when I decided I was going to college, and I was only the 2nd person in my family to ever go to college, the first person did not use their degree. I did. And so when I decided I was going to go to college, and then I had to look for a job, I had no idea what I was stepping into. My assumption about how I was supposed to act and navigate came from 3 things: assumption, perception, and television. I watched Dynasty, of all things. So I thought my life was supposed to be these big suits with these shoulder pads, and I had to look a particular way when it came to going into the corporate environment. So I get my first job working for Ringling Brothers Circus in Disney on Ice, as a promotion manager. And so I'm like, it's a circus. I don't have to get real fancy about it. It's not gonna be anything special. But the circus is one thing, the office is another. And so you go into this office and I'm just acting because I didn't know how to be. I wasn't my authentic self because I didn't know if that was acceptable. So I'm going through my career. I leave Ringling Brothers, I go to an association, I go to different jobs, and I'm acting. I'm pretending that I'm something that I thought you're supposed to be when you're in these corporate environments. And then one day I'm gonna tell you a story about Frank and Browse. The names are protected. Frank and Browse decided they were gonna get in an argument in the office. And they were going at it in front of everybody. And I was like, oh my God, Frank about to get fired. I can't believe he's acting like this in the office. And they're going at it. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna help him clean out his desk tomorrow. Because I know Frank is about to get fired. And the next day comes, and Frank and Browse still have their jobs. And they're quite happy. And they're talking with each other. They made up from their fight. And I was like, what in the hell was that? Oh my goodness. They were just being themselves, and something I would never do is argue in the office. But look how free they were to just have this disagreement, walk away, and come back. I would have never done that. And so I said to myself, that's it. The act is dead. I'm over it. Whatever happens, happens. I'm going to be me. So this job is gonna get the same me that my husband get, maybe not all the benefits, but they're gonna get the same Monique that my husband gets, my mama gets, everybody gets, because I'm tired of acting. So I had to produce this authenticity within myself. And the game changed for me in that way. And so the second thing that happened for me was I was doing all of this great work because remember, I saw hard work day in, day out in my community. But I wasn't moving anywhere within my career. I just kept getting more work. Have you ever just kept doing stuff in programs and it was like, you're the best person out there, let me give you some more work. But I wasn't getting a promotion. I wasn't getting elevated. And so I was like, okay, here's another moment where I gotta stop doing what I'm doing and I have to change. And so I went to this huge festival, this huge marketing festival in Cannes, France. And I said, okay, I want to run something like this. And what I'm doing right now will never get me there. What do I need to do to create opportunity for myself? And so LinkedIn, about 10 or so years ago, was more like a resume site than a social media platform. And so I went on LinkedIn and I just started combing through all of these people who were doing what I wanted to do. And I started to see their skill sets. And I said, oh, I have that, I don't have that, I need that, I need to think about that. And I made this list for myself. And I said, Monique, you're not gonna be able to speak to CEOs or own a profit and loss statement or anything like that unless you have access. So how do I create access for myself? Well, the first thing you think is, okay, mentorship. I'll have someone give me advice about what the next step should be in my career. And so I had a mentor, and I got great advice, but that mentor wasn't providing me access. They were just giving me great advice. And so I said, okay, this is not enough. I need to think about other ways that I can get access. And I need to do it within the environment and company that I'm in. I need to find a sponsor. Now, at the time, I did not use the word sponsor. I basically said, who's that person here that has all the pull? And who's gonna help me get into some of these doors? And I found this person. And I started to build a relationship with this person. This wasn't anything that happened overnight. This wasn't me going up to them and saying, can you please be my sponsor? Absolutely not, because that's not how this works. It was an introduction. It was building a relationship. It was us working together and figuring out how I can be helpful. This person started to like the work that I was doing, and I didn't want to fall into the trap of just getting more work. So I took a chance, and I said, listen, I just heard you're about to go to a new job. If you go to that new job, I'm available. Take me with you. But if you take me, I don't want to do what I'm doing here now. I need to learn this particular skill set. I need to know how to talk to a CEO. I need to know what they ask of you when you're in those rooms. I need access. So would you mind doing that for me if I've decided, and you decided you want me there, would you mind doing that for me in my next step? And because this person had a relationship with me, saw my work, seen everything that I've done, I was the person that really grinded hard, high performer, they said, sure, no problem. So they took me to their next job. I got an elevated title. I got elevated salary. Then this person moved to another job. I said, hey, you're going to that next job. You can take me again. And if you go to that next job, this is what I need. I want to do this. I want to have this skill set. I want to do this. You've seen my high performance here. You know I'm helpful. Think about it when you leave. Left again, took me again. Did this for 4 jobs. 4 jobs. I would always have that conversation with them. 4 jobs. They elevated my title. They elevated my salary. And I was going through all of the lists that I put together about the different things that I needed for me to get to my dream job of running a very large festival. And so I got to become a P&L owner. I got to sit in there and produce ideas and showcase ideas in front of the boards and the CEOs. I got to do everything that I wanted to do through those 4 jobs because of intention. What intention provided for me was 3 things. Clarity. I knew what I wanted, and I knew what I wanted to pursue. I didn't waste my time on other things. Growth. Because I went to these different places and I asked for what I wanted, when I did that, I was able to learn different skills. And please, the biggest one of them all, resilience. Because everything didn't always work out in the way that I wanted it to work out when I got to those positions. And so you have to build resilience because you have to learn how to not to sweat the small things. Because there will be so many small things that is going to drag you down when you start elevating in your career. There is no such thing as perfectionism. There are pivots and drops and turnarounds when it comes to you pursuing your career. And you gotta learn how to get through it. You gotta learn how to just say, okay, I'm gonna do this, it hurt, I'm gonna drop, I'm gonna take a moment to myself, but I'm getting back on that horse, I'm gonna move forward. And I did that each and every time. And I thought, hey, I went through all of this by myself, learning along the way, how can I help others not have to experience what I've experienced? Because it was a lot of hard work. It was a lot of second-guessing myself at times. It was a lot of figuring things out because it wasn't all easy. And that's exactly what I did. I said, I'm going to be a mentor to people, but I'm also going to be a sponsor. I have the opportunity now that I'm in the positions that I'm in to help give access. And that's what sponsorship is about. It's about access. But it's not a one-way street. It's not about me doing all of this work for you. It's about how we're working together. What can you contribute to your mentor sponsorship relationship that's helpful to them in the way that they're going to contribute to your life? And so when you're thinking about your career, many people was like, well, I don't know what I want to do when I grow up. I don't know what list I'm supposed to put together to figure out what the next step is for me. I started my list in 2012. I got to where I wanted to get to in 2018. So every single year, I was doing more and learning more and moving more into my career. But it took time. It didn't happen overnight. Now it's 2023. And now I have a bunch of people a bunch of mentees and people that I help along the way. But it takes a lot of time to be a sponsor and to be a mentor, so you have to care. I care. I care that I know from the environments that I came from that I didn't have anyone to show me this path. I didn't have anyone to cheerlead me on because they didn't even know what they would be cheerleading on. They didn't understand. And so I wanted to make sure there's people in my network and in my environment that know that I understand. And I want to be helpful in the same way that my mentees are helpful to me. I learn a lot about what's up and coming, what's new, what do I need to think about. At TED, I manage a team of 44 people. A lot of people don't know that the TED Talks that you see come from conferences, not just someone speaking in a studio. There is a difference between TED and TEDx. So those are two different things that a lot of people think it's just the same type of program and experience, and it's not. And I run all of their flagship global programs. So it takes a lot of time to create processes and manage people for such a big team. But I also am a mentor and a sponsor for many team members within my team and outside of my team. And so when I'm thinking about and talking about intention with you, I want you to take some time to understand that you're not wrong. You're not wrong to think in the way that you originally thought, especially if you didn't come from an environment where you sat around the dinner table and you were talking about your day in a corporate environment with your parents. You're going to take in what you see, what you get to experience. So you're not wrong. But what this talk is today is about you thinking differently now. How are you going to create clarity, growth, and resilience when it comes to your career? What are those steps you're going to take? How are you going to build relationships with people who may become a mentor or even a sponsor? How do you build relationships about people who are going to help you in your future? Another thing that I do is I don't network. I build connections. And the reason why I build connections is because I'm going to like you as a person if we're going to be connected. I don't care what you can do for me. If I don't like you, we're never going to be friends. And so I build connections. I've been building connections with people that I know will help me 5 years from now. I've been building connections with people who I know who want to give me opportunities now that I'm just not ready to pursue yet, but in 3 years I will be. They're there for me. And I started building those connections 5, 6, 10 years ago. Because building your environment, your tribe, your community is really important. I check in with those people, if not monthly, quarterly, if not quarterly, yearly. If you're in New York, I say, hey, when you come to New York, make sure you hit me up so we can have coffee or lunch or drinks or dinner. And I actually follow through. I don't say it just to say it. I'm actually trying to build that connection with them. And so I have people that I built connection with 5 years ago that offered me opportunities. I don't look for jobs because I've started to build opportunity for me where jobs come to me because of the connections I've made. So remember, when it comes to intention about your career, 3 things you want to do. Number 1, can you shout out what's number 1? Clarity. What's number 2? Growth. And what's number 3? Resilience. So I think that is my time for my talk, and there's going to be some Q&A, and I promise to answer your question of how to give a TED Talk.
Thank you, Monique. I love that. Opening line. What an incredible story, and thank you for being so clear on the path and the takeaways. I do have more questions for you, but before we get into that, I just want to mention that we have 3 volunteers here in the red shirts. So if you have any questions for Monique, please either raise your hand and one of the volunteers can come give you the microphone. So maybe we can get a volunteer here and a volunteer over here. We've got 1 question in the front already, but while we're doing that, you already opened up, how do you do a TED Talk? And I know you can't give away those answers, but maybe you might have some tips on what makes a great TED Talk.
I definitely have some tips about TED Talks. So if you thought of an idea that you wanted to share, believe me, you're not the first person to think of that idea, most likely. So you should go onto the TED YouTube channel to see if anyone else is already talking or have talked about that idea. And if you're going to put a unique twist or spin to it, then you want to submit to our website. You can actually submit to give a TED Talk. This is different from TEDx, just so we're clear. You can submit to give a TED Talk on TED.com. Do not write your description as if you're writing a school essay. You really have to pluck out what is unique and different about your talk compared to all of the other talks we probably had on that topic.
Brilliant. And I love that you added that you probably, somebody else has had that idea. There's no such thing as an original idea, so go see what else is out there.
That's right.
Over to you.
Hi, Monique. Thank you for the speech. It was incredible, or the keynote, or whatever. You talked about resilience as the third point, which is, you outlined it as a very important point. My question is, because a lot of people hit a stone wall and then they have fear and they run away. What kept you going every time something didn't go your way?
I call it the bounce back. So one of the things is, I'll give you an example. I took a job that I was not ready for. I thought I was ready for this job. I took this job, and 6 months later, they let me go. I wasn't ready for the job, and I was devastated. I just knew I did everything right. And what happened was, I kept thinking about, why did this happen to me? And I thought, well, they asked this, and I didn't have the skill set, I couldn't perform, I didn't understand, I wasn't ready. Once I had the clarity about what the reason situations was, I was like, I can come back and create and fix that. I can get this skill set. I can learn what I need to learn. I need to take 2 steps back to take 10 steps forward. So it was about me dissecting what that issue was for it, acknowledging that I could have did better and decided to do better.
So what I hear in there, and is there anybody else who has a question? If you want to raise your hand, over here. So what I'm also hearing in there is a little bit of risk-taking.
Yes.
Actually, a lot of risk-taking.
Right.
And Stefan and Team Open this morning was talking about a rookie moment. So how have you had, I'm going to say, probably in your career, multiple rookie moments?
Yes.
And what suggestions do you have for the audience around how to embrace that and what they can do more of?
So for me, my biggest risk was being authentic. Like I said, I came from a different environment than a lot of people in corporate America. I've been in spaces where I was the only black person or the only black woman. And I had to really think about, is this safe for me to be my authentic self? Will that hold me back or cause any issue? And I had to get okay with being uncomfortable, because this is how I'm gonna navigate this environment. For me to survive in corporate America, I have to be myself, or I'm not gonna make it. And so I had to accept the fact that I have a twang in my voice. I don't always say the right thing. I'm not always going to be polished. But I work, and I work hard. I know what I'm doing, and I'm confident in my skill set, and I make this company money. So they're going to have to accept whatever I'm giving, and it's going to be good.
So I'm curious to know a little bit more about that. In those moments where you have that hesitation, what is it you do to overcome the hesitation?
I had, like I said, I had to get used to being uncomfortable. So I've been in plenty of spaces where I'm uncomfortable. I've put myself in situations where I'm uncomfortable. And I made it through a live, and I was fine, and people were great and happy, and I was happy. But I had to you get used to it. It's like massaging a muscle.
So you're basically developing your muscle. Just get out there and practice and keep trying.
Keep putting yourself in those environments and taking those risks, and you'll get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Love that. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you. You partly answered the question that I wanted to raise, because I question, was there ever a question moving that fast from one job to another, always following a certain sponsor? So was this ever questioned, and how did you handle it?
Was there ever a question about how did I handle moving with the sponsor?
Yes, moving fast from one job or one company to another.
No, because I didn't care about anybody else's question.
Yeah.
I knew what I needed to do and what I wanted to do. And, I'm the only one that is going to put in the time, energy, and motivation within my career. Nobody else. And so if someone didn't agree with how I was navigating that, that was their problem, not mine. And it never caused any issue with me moving into these different roles with these different companies. I was happy to be there. They were happy to have me. I worked really hard. And so it didn't matter what was going on out here. I kept a very straight mind about what I needed to do to move up.
So we probably have time for one more question. Any other questions from the audience? Oh, we've got 2 hands over here, so maybe We can do 2 more questions. How's that? Over here, and I think there was one there. And just while we're doing that, I have one quick question for you. So you've talked about what you can do for yourself to develop the muscle, but for other people in this room who are leading teams or working with others, what can they do to create that safe space where they can allow others to fail?
One of the things that I do when I talk to my team is the 80-20 rule. And I said, I'm all about taking risk. We're going to dissect what that can look like, but 80% of whatever we come up with probably will work great, and 20% may fail. Probably will fail. And I'm okay with that as long as we learn from it. And so I put that out to my team of 44. You don't even understand how like it was a breath of fresh air for them to know that I don't have to do everything perfect here. You mean that if we fail, we can still move on? Yes, because we're gonna come back bigger and better, and we're gonna learn from those mistakes. So I always have a monthly meeting with my team where only thing we do is problem solve and ideate. So every month, because I always say if I have to give an update, that can be done through an email. When we get together, we're gonna problem solve and ideate, and we're gonna come up with something. 80% will work, 20% probably won't.
Beautiful. Okay, over to you.
Okay, my question would be, you talked a lot about clarity. My mentor as well always tells me that I have to get a clear idea of where I want to go. So my question to him and now to you is how to get clarity.
So some people are like, I can't think about what I want to do 10 years from now, let alone next week. And so I always say, well, let's peel it back a little bit and think about clarity about what is the one skill set you would love to get? What is the one opportunity you would love to get? We're not thinking about career elevation or anything else. What is the one thing that we can concentrate on right now? And what are the steps does it take for you to get there? So it's all about kind of putting it in bite-sized pieces. As they like to say, how do you eat an elephant? You put it in bite-sized pieces. And really just focus on those one smaller things, and it'll definitely motivate and inspire you to the bigger stuff.
I'm going to say that I'm going to allow one more question, if that's okay. So one more question from the audience.
Hi. So as a sponsor, what would you expect of a mentee? Because I would think if you would be my sponsor, there wasn't that much that I could actually, give you back.
And that's absolutely wrong. So one of the things that I tell my mentees is I'm learning from you just as much as you're learning from me, because you're bringing certain situations to me that my team members probably are experiencing those same situations. So you being open and sharing where your challenges and successes are important for me to hear and learn, because I know someone else in my network, in my vicinity, is going through the same thing, and it's gonna help me understand and navigate that better. Sometimes it's as simple as, I know you're gonna be at XX. Is there anything that I can do for you while you're at XX? Just asking that question alone shows that you are trying to be interactive and not just transactional, but helpful, and that you care about that other person. So sometimes it's just the small things that help me with being a good sponsor.
Amazing, thank you. Thank you, Monique, for sharing your experience, your advice, and for being so open to talk about authenticity, but also the failures that you've had as well.
Absolutely.